The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Gary Axelbank, filling in for Darren Jaime today, and we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up, attorney and host of BronxNet's Today's Verdict, David Lesch, joins us to discuss the laws and rights when an individual is driving while intoxicated. And also we'll learn more about mental health first aid training, as well as overdose prevention and reversal training, with the Director of New Initiatives at the Bureau of Bronx Neighborhood Health of the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. Next, we'll talk with representatives from DreamYard Project to talk about their organization and the very fascinating upcoming Games Space celebration. After that, it will be the Manhattan Church of Christ Outreach Group and what they're doing for the community and the holiday season. And then we'll learn about an exhibition that presents the Bronx through the eyes of senior citizens when we sit with the program's coordinator. So stay tuned. All this and much more is headed your way because now we are officially open. Hey there, back with you. I'm Gary Axelbank, filling in for Darren Jaime, and today is Wednesday, December 11th. Snow is coming down, and you are watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome viewers from the Manhattan Neighborhood Network. Open is simulcast on MNN's channels. At BronxNet TV, of course, you stay connected to us on all of the social media platforms. So let's take you through with what's been going on all week with our Bronx updates. House Democrats have announced 2 articles of impeachment charging President Donald J. Trump with the abuse of power and obstruction charges. And Speaker Nancy Pelosi stated that President Trump tried to corrupt our upcoming elections and remains a threat to our democracy and national security. Democrats debated whether to also include another article of obstruction of justice that details the allegations in the Mueller report to show that Trump's misconduct was part of a larger pattern, according to sources. The president stated on Twitter, to impeach a president who has proven through results, including producing perhaps the strongest economy in our country's history, to have one of the most successful presidencies ever, and most importantly, who has done nothing wrong, is sheer political madness. Hundreds of small business owners took part in a toy drive sponsored by the Bronx Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber gave those gifts to Young Lives, an organization that helps teen moms. BronxNet reporter Arlene Makoko was there, and she has even more.
Hundreds of small business owners took part in a toy drive sponsored by the Bronx Chamber of Commerce at the Pelham Bay Split Rock Golf Course. Each year, the Chamber chooses a nonprofit to donate to, and this year, the gifts will be given to Young Lives, an organization that is helping teen moms during their pregnancy and beyond.
We were trying to bring a toy for both a boy and a girl. So we decided on a doll for a girl.
These toys were joined by hundreds of others seen here, unwrapped gifts soon to be presented to children, with moms participating in Young Life. It's also about bringing together small business owners from across the Bronx at a time when they need it most, shared President of the Chamber, Lisa Soren, who is monitoring legislation going before the mayor on bills dealing with paid time off, among others. Many expressed that supporting events like this works to build their voices.
The more we're involved with the community, the more we can help, the more people can help us, and the more we get to know more people, which I think is part of being in the Bronx.
For more information on this and other events, go to bronxchamber.org. For BronxNet, this is Arlene Makoko.
Well, thank you very much, Arlene. Happy holidays to you. And that is all for the Bronx updates. We'll take a quick break, and we'll have more open right after this.
Praise the Lord. I'm Evangelist Barbara Mayo. I have a program called A Great God. I come on every Saturday at 3:30, channel 70 and 36 on Fios. You need to catch me because it's a program to encourage, to lift up, and if you don't know anybody that haven't heard about the program, tell them about it. They'll be encouraged, for God is good. God bless you.
As we all know, the holiday season is filled with excitement and celebration for many, and unfortunately, alcohol does play a big role in many people's festivities. However, a combination of good cheer and abundance of alcohol can be dangerous behind the wheel, but you do have some rights when you're pulled over from driving while intoxicated. What should you do if you are arrested? Here to give us some more information and provide insight on these topics, attorney and host of Today's Verdict, my longtime friend. We were just talking about how long we know each other.
It's a reunion. Do you know, I was with you on your show back in 2004. That's how long it's been. And I started on your show. And with legal segments, and we're moving on now, Today's Verdict, which we love. Do you know, let me ask you, do you know we have about 75,000 Twitter followers? The most requested topic. Have any idea what the most requested?
I mean, since we're talking about alcohol and drunk driving, I'm going to guess that, but I have no idea.
False arrest. But it's number two.
False arrest.
But number two is the DWI. And, you know, it's the holiday season, and unfortunately, it's the month where we see the most fatalities because of drunken driving, Christmas parties. People get behind the wheel. They think they can do it. They think they're sober enough, and they're not. And by the way, just so the viewers understand that there is no such thing as sobering up. You cannot change the blood alcohol content in your body by
drinking a cup of coffee,
by taking a cold shower, coffee. It doesn't do anything.
Right.
So there is no sobering up. So if you're over the limit, if you and the blood alcohol content 0.08 or above, you are driving while intoxicated, DWI.
And get somebody to drive for you. That would be the best
suggestion. That's the best thing. And really just what affects you in terms of your ability to, in terms of your blood alcohol content is how much you drink, how quickly you drink the alcohol, your weight, your gender. These are all things that have to be taken into consideration, and most people don't think about these things, but the most important thing you have to remember is that if you even have a hint of not being able to get behind the wheel, do not do it, because the police are out and they're at the checkpoints. And sometimes some people ask me, checkpoints, I don't, why'd they pull me over and they didn't pull somebody else over? Well, constitutionally, as long as it's random, as long as it's every other car, it could be, doesn't matter. They can't do it based on what the occupants of the car may look like, but they can do every third car, every fourth car. So
it could be you.
It could be you. It could very well be
you. One of the things I just want to suggest, because it was suggested to me a long time ago, that, and I don't know, maybe you'll know if it's true. If you go to a party, the first thing you should do is have a glass of water or a glass of seltzer, and it begins to limit what you ultimately will
it'll
take.
fill up your stomach as well,
That's
so you
what I
may
mean,
not
yeah.
want to have some more alcohol. But so let's get a little bit into the law here.
Yeah,
So you
let's
get pulled over. That's how it starts. You get
Right.
pulled over, and there are questions. Well, do I have to get out of the car? Yes, you have to get out of the car if they want a sobriety test. You have to do that. Well, that's when people throw out all the different, constitutional provisions. Well, do I have a right to an attorney?
Right. I can refuse.
Right,
I don't want to
have
do
a right
it.
to an attorney. Now, at that point, you don't have a right to an attorney because, by the way, you're not arrested. They're just asking you to get out and to do some tests. And driving is not a right. Many people think that driving in a driver's license is a right. It is a privilege. It's not a right. It's a privilege. It's different under the law. So now you get out and they ask you to do the sobriety test. You do the test, you walk, you don't walk, that's up to you. But now they want you to do the test where you blow into the test to figure out whether or not you're over the limit. And you say, no, I'm not. I don't have to do that. It's illegal search and seizure. It's as if you're taking something from me. You're taking out my.
Is that accurate?
No, it's not. But these are other things that are thrown out there. It's illegal search and seizure. It's like taking my blood. You can't. Nope, it's different. You're not taking a possession. You're allowed to, and you don't have to blow. That's up to you. You don't have to, but it'll be a violation immediately if you don't, and it could be used as evidence against you when the prosecutor brings a case for DWI. And there's a presumption in the law that if you don't blow,
then you
were guilty. So
Wow.
you think you're very slick by saying, "Oh, I'm not going to blow into it." It doesn't work that way, right? Now, this is what the prosecutors generally use to prove DWI. They use video, dash cam, which they can see if you're walking or how you're talking. Other witnesses at the scene, maybe a partner who can testify against you. So, if you drank or didn't drink, you really should blow, no matter what. I mean, that's what we have it there for. So now we're debating, and it's been in the legislature whether we should be reducing it from 0.08 down to 0.05. And believe it or not, a lot of the alcohol companies are pushing up against it because
Well, they're trying to sell
they're
the product.
selling, and they make money this way, and they don't want to prevent you from having a drink or some alcohol and getting behind the wheel. So there's a big push. Commercial drivers, though, 0.04. So if you're 0.04, you're driving while intoxicated.
Do you have a sense of how how many drinks would raise your limit?
It changes. I've had a couple of articles that I read. It really depends on your body weight.
Right.
It depends on if you're slight, if you're big, if you're tall, how much you've eaten. There's no mathematical formula for it. There are some devices that sometimes they put into your car that you can buy where you can test yourself, but you don't really know how
And I think
accurate
they were
are.
also talking about making it so that you couldn't start the car.
That's right. There's an ignition. It's an ignition interlock switch, which many times what they'll do is if you've been convicted or you've pled to, let's say, a driving while impaired, which is less, 0.06.
Right.
Okay, driving while impaired. What they'll do is, as probation, they'll give you this interlock system, I don't know, for 6 months or a year. And then they'll know. You have to take the test, and it'll be able to start the car.
What are the potential penalties? I mean, presumably, if it's a repeat offense, you really have
Listen,
a
if
problem.
you're a commercial driver and it's you have a second DWI, you're never getting another commercial license again.
Right.
That's for sure. If you're just somebody who doesn't drive for a living and you end up, with a DWI, they're going to take away your license for 6 months, possibly a year, and if you do it again, it could be a felony. So at the very least, 6 months, you don't blow into that thing, you lost your license for 6 months, no matter what. right? You'll have to be able to prove that you really weren't DWI. I had a law school friend of mine that happened to him. He refused to blow into the system, and his mother had to drive him to law school for 6 months.
Wow.
And he eventually got it knocked down to driving while impaired, which, by the way, prosecutors are very reluctant to do now. This was 25, 30 years ago. They are very reluctant to don't say, oh, you know, I'm going to plead it. There's no pleading. It doesn't work that way in Bronx County.
You know, I'm just curious, and we're going to have people from the Department of Health on later on in the program. What about drug use, smoking marijuana, or certainly
It's illegal.
opioid?
You can't drive. It's
And
still illegal.
Can they test you on the spot for that?
Well,
I guess that would be a blood test, right?
But again, that's not an unreasonable search and seizure, but how are they going to take blood from you at the scene?
Right,
It's
right,
not going
right,
to happen. And maybe an ambulance would take it if you were hurt, and they can use that against you later on when they get the hospital record.
That's
but
the
they
difference.
can't, it's not like the police officer can say, all right, give me your arm, you know, let me pull it and take out your blood, but they can make you blow, which is different.
Listen, this driving thing is a very serious matter, and it's it's a very serious matter, especially during the holiday season, et cetera, et cetera.
You know, you lose so much. And do you know 1/3 of all fatalities in New York State, vehicle fatalities, come from alcohol related? A third. And don't even get started with the motorcycles. So many motorcycle deaths are a result of those driving motorcycles under the influence of alcohol.
Are there fines that you can get short of having your license taken away?
Well, here are a couple of them. Just want you to know.
We've got about 40 seconds.
Okay, you have. There's really a zero tolerance law for certain things, like driving while impaired. There's a $300 to $500 fine. You could possibly, you have a suspension for 90 days of your license. That's, you know, driving while impaired. There's so many different ones. You really have to go through the statute. Chemical test refusal, revoked for at least a year if it's a commercial driver. So if you're driving an Uber and you say, no, I'm not blowing, it's for a year. There are so many different categories based on whether you hurt somebody, God forbid you killed somebody. You could be in jail for 10, 20 years.
Wow.
If you had influence.
David Lesch, how do we find you? Let's see, at Today's Verdict
At
on
David
Twitter.
Lesch, at Today's Verdict. Send me a request for show topics. That's how we get them.
And make sure to check out Today's Verdict on BronxNet Television. David, it's a pleasure.
In regards to the family.
Yes,
Happy
to
holidays.
you too. And you know what, David? Let's celebrate, and if you do have a couple of drinks, let somebody else drive.
That's a good idea.
All right. Listen, David's got you if you need the answers to difficult legal questions. Connect with him on Facebook and Twitter, as we said. Tune into Today's Verdict, Tuesdays at 6:30 here on BronxNet Television. We'll be right back with more Open right after this.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at bronxnet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
I was there.
I was there.
Yo estuve allí.
So many symptoms came on me all at once.
Shortness of breath.
I stopped sleeping.
I was getting laryngitis.
Emotionally, it was a basket case.
None of these issues did I have before 9/11.
The World Trade Center Health Program gave me hope.
You don't have medical insurance? That should not be a problem because the fundings are already there.
The doctor told me when I spoke with her, she says I could fill a room with people that sound just like you.
They were very thorough, very caring and empathetic.
When I left there, I had a plan in hand.
If you're sick because of 9/11 and its aftermath, the World Trade Center Health Program can help you.
There's no other place like this.
It saved my life.
All right, welcome back to Open. Since 2009, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation County Health Ranking Report has ranked the Bronx, and I hate this, as number 62 out of New York State's 62 counties in terms of health outcomes. In response, several groups have come together to build a collaborative effort with partners and Bronx residents to improve the health of our borough. Not 62 is a borough-wide collective impact campaign designed to work with partners across multiple sectors to address the social and economic determinants of health that impacts the overall quality of life for Bronx residents and help to create an environment where individuals can attain their best possible health. Here to tell us more is the facilitator for Not 62, the Director of New Initiatives at the Bureau of Bronx Neighborhood Health of the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. It's over there on Arthur Avenue. Please go and visit him. He's a great guy. My buddy Fernando Tirado, nice to have you with us.
Gary, it's a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Listen, we could go through any number of health issues. I know that the Department of Health and the folks over there at the Health Action Center are working really hard to combat this opioid problem we have. So let's just start where it comes from and why so many Bronxites and frankly people all over the country are having a problem with opioids.
So opioids are a crisis throughout New York State and throughout the country. We have a serious problem here in the Bronx. In 2017 and 2018, the Bronx had the highest number of people dying and the highest rate of death out of any of the city's 5 boroughs. But even when we look at the Bronx, when I tell you that number, we're looking at the average. We know that there are certain communities who are hotspots, who have a much higher rate of death, and it is tied to many times to the social determinants of health, which is why we wanted to talk about those social determinants of health, but also provide some practical help by distributing the Narcan.
Right. Let's talk about those social determinants. And there is a call constantly for more support for mental health services and those kinds of things. And, you know, we look at why people may turn toward opioids. I mean, there's the whole pharmaceutical question. We know all about that. But let's talk about mental health support. If you are a person who has or feels like, gee, I got some issues I want to deal with, or you have a relative who has issues, what do you do? Who do you call? How do you handle it?
So the first thing we would do is recommend folks to call NYC Well, 888 NYC Well, so that they could.
I didn't even know that. Let's get that down. NYC
Well.
Well, W-E-L-L.
W-E-L-L, and that is you can talk to somebody 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can text somebody, you can chat with somebody online, and they can tell you where you can get mental health services, including where you can get free Narcan.
As far as mental health, doctors available, psychologists available. Frankly, sometimes it's just somebody to talk to who's not going to judge you. I mean,
so
let's start there.
I'm not sure if there are doctors or nurses on NYC Well, but we do know that there are a lack of mental health providers in the Bronx, and that those mental health providers are not equally distributed throughout the borough. In addition, we know that more Bronx adults report more mentally unhealthy days than in any other county in New York State.
I hate this. I'm sorry. I love what you're doing, but I hate hearing about this about Bronx people.
And that's also from the county health rankings, right? And it's a consistent problem.
Yeah. Okay, so people have an opportunity to at least reach out to find somebody to talk to, or a relative or caregiver who has somebody that needs help. Let's do that. You could go down, for example, to 3rd Avenue in the area around the hub, and you see people, frankly, who are strung out. It's very, very tragic. Yeah. If you see somebody who is having a problem, what do you do?
So we also like to promote our mental health first aid course. Tell people to take the course. It's an 8-hour course. It's a 3-year certification, and it helps people to recognize the signs and symptoms of depression, anxiety, suicide risk, substance use, and other mental disorders, and how to act and how to save somebody's life when they are in danger. You know, whether that is administering the Narcan or learning how to talk to somebody, learning how to discover what is at the root of their mental health issues. Because as we mentioned, there are certainly not enough providers in the state, in the county to help people. And so we need to train each other and help people understand where there are mental health problems.
And some of the mental health problems can be genetic, and some of them also, listen, it's tough out here in the Bronx. We know
Well,
it, and there are pressures of family and school and housing, and certainly
Poverty plays a huge role.
Yep.
Racism plays a huge role. Structural racism, even the things that we may have, say, well, how is that affecting people now?
Oh my goodness.
Things from
Don't
Jim
even
Crow
start-
and
oh,
redlining and everything
for
plays a
sure.
part.
And people who have lived through so many things and say, I've had enough, and now they're rezoning my neighborhood or whatever it is, and they,
So those economic stressors, those psychological stressors, they all play a role in what's going on. with
Let's
people's
talk
mental health.
specifically. I know you brought some
Sure.
things to show us. Let's show some of the things that you brought with you
Sure.
to just talk about if somebody is having an overdose, whether a friend, a relative, or even a stranger on the street.
So actually, I was at a training. I was providing a training last night in City Island for the folks on City Island on how to use Narcan, how to recognize the signs and symptoms of an opioid overdose. And we talk about what you should do first, right? Make sure that you're calling 911, make sure that the person is unresponsive, right? We don't want people to administer Narcan if they don't need Narcan. But then how to administer it. It's very simple. There are these nasal
I'm going to hold one
Sure.
as well, if you don't mind. It's like a little spray bottle thing.
That's right. You put you hold the canister, 2 fingers by the base of the nozzle, the thumb on the plunger, and all you do is make sure that person's laid down flat on the floor, and you administer the Narcan.
You literally put it in their nose.
You put the nozzle in their nostril, and you press down. Wait 2 to 3 minutes. If they're not responding, use the second one.
One time you squirt it one time?
That's it. There's only one dose available in these.
Can I assume that you call 911 first?
You're going to call 911 first. You're going to
Okay.
check to make sure that person is non-responsive.
And then
call 911
what
first.
do you expect to happen after you administer this?
So what actually happens is that the person goes through rapid withdrawal, right? Just like fentanyl and opioids fentanyl in particular can cause a rapid overdose. This causes a rapid withdrawal. It helps that person to restart their breathing and to get oxygen into the system. But they're going to be afraid, confused. Sometimes they're going to be pissed that you took away their high. And so we want to make sure that you explain to them that not that they were overdosing, right? Because that starts to label people, but that they stop breathing. It could be as a result of the drugs that you used, but that this medication helped to restart your breathing, helped you to get so that you could go to the ambulance and go to the hospital and get the treatment that you need.
Let's be clear. This literally saves people's lives.
Yes.
And you've seen it happen, and you might even know cases where
I
somebody
know cases,
has actually passed, has actually died because this wasn't administered on time.
Yes, well, that's probably true, especially with the prevalence of fentanyl in the drug supply, right? Fentanyl, whereas with previous heroin use, it might take 2 to 3 hours for you to have an overdose. Fentanyl, it's 2 to 3 minutes, and if you don't know that a product has fentanyl in it, and you're not prepared, or there's not somebody there with a canister of Narcan to save you, that you're going to pass.
I love what you're doing, the Fernando Tirado. I love what the Department of Health is doing and how hard you work. I'm sick of not 62. My goal is when we get to 48 to say not 48. I don't want to hear it anymore. We're done with that.
So you are like-minded then.
I think many people in the Bronx feel that way. Fernando Tirado, thank you and all our friends at the Department of Health. If you have questions, get on over to the Health Action Center on Arthur Avenue. It's a wonderful place, wonderful people, and learn a little bit more about how to save lives.
Thank you, Gary.
Always great. Folks, the mental health first aid training is taking place every day from today till Saturday, December 14th at 8:30 a.m. Also, the overdose prevention and reversal training will take place on Wednesday, December 18th at 10:30 and another class at 3:30. Both events taking place where? I just told you, the Bronx Neighborhood Health Action Center at 1826 Arthur Avenue. For more information on Not 62, visit your doctor. No, you can visit the Facebook page at Not 62BX, and we'll have more open right after this.
how to be other gay people in this borough.
That is the goal of this show, to give the community a voice.
As writers, as producers that write queer content, you know, we definitely have to open the door for the person behind you.
The community always comes through.
Things are going to get real here. The community really does exist so far beyond just the L, the G, the B, and the T.
Whenever people are out and proud and loud, you know, we get heard.
Did you know that brain and spinal cord tumors are the deadliest form of pediatric cancer? It can happen to anyone.
I'm not hungry. My tummy hurts.
You can help us be part of the solution.
Get in here. Hurry.
You can be part of our family.
It's okay.
Please support our mission today. Making Headway Foundation, dedicated to the care, comfort, and cure of children with brain and spinal cord tumors.
It's time to get serious about your future. At Bronx Community College, you can earn an Associate of Applied Science degree and become a medical laboratory technician in as little as 2 years. Earn an average salary of over $50,000 a year in one of the most rewarding careers in medicine. All you need is a high school diploma or equivalent to get started. Those who qualify can get tuition covered by grants and scholarships. So why wait? For program details, contact Bronx Community College today.
Hey, welcome back to Open. The DreamYard Project is an arts and social justice organization dedicated to working with Bronx youth, families, schools, and communities, everybody. And the idea is they build pathways toward equity and opportunity. As one of the largest arts learning providers in the Bronx, DreamYard impacts the social and intellectual growth of thousands of people through safe and creatively challenging programs. Joining us to tell more about the DreamYard Project is the director of the Entrepreneurship and Gaming Programs. It's Rudy Blanco. Nice to have you with us.
Nice to have you. Thank you. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it.
Listen, I told you as you sat down, and you can tell the people it's true. I think it's brilliant. The whole gaming thing is brilliant, and we'll talk about that. Just a little back up and talk about DreamYard in general. You guys are doing wonderful work. Tell us all about it.
So we've been around for 25 years. We've been working with over 50 schools, with over 70 teaching artists across all of these schools. We teach arts-based programming with social justice lens. And this year we're opening up our very first gaming entrepreneurship space for our young people in our community to really explore pathways in those areas.
One of the things that is exciting to me about it is, you know, you have an arts organization, you deal with social justice issues, you're trying to teach people about their community, but you're responding to what's out there.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think the gaming thing is so brilliant, because if we want to reach young people, we got to keep moving because they're young and they're developing.
Absolutely.
Talk to me about the germ of the notion that created the gaming program.
Absolutely. Well, it started about 5 years ago. We were partnering with this org called the New York Video Game Critics Circle, run by this gentleman, Harold Goldberg. It's essentially a group of about 40 writers. They're writers across various publications, and they wanted to work with us around developing a journalism and gaming program. First of all, I didn't think journalism and gaming went together. But then when you really think about it, there's a lot of reviews, a lot of content created around the state of the industry and the state of where these companies are going. And since then, they've awarded over $15,000 worth of scholarships to young people that are writing stories and reviewing games that are coming out, looking at social impact across various games. And it was since then we were like, whoa, there's so much more. And we started doing research. We found that the industry itself is just as big as the movie industry as far as careers and pathways are concerned. So we wanted a piece of that. We want our young people to really participate.
One of the things that you learn as you get older, it's not your world anymore. It's the young people's world. And if that's what they are interested in, then that's where you got to go.
Absolutely, and I think it's also about narrative, right? Like when you look at a lot of the video games that are around today, like we don't see people like ourselves there, right? Like Black, Brown, and Latino kids, like they don't see themselves in these stories, not all of the time, not majority of the time. When you play video games, you're usually picking characters that look like you, that have stories like yours, and that doesn't exist, and we want to change that.
You know, I'm wondering about the whole social justice component. I wonder if in the creation of games and teaching young people, you can incorporate that so that maybe there's not as many war games or not as many violent games, but there may be more fun games. I'm just guessing. Is that something that applies?
It's people who play games that are violent in nature. You could argue that they think it's a lot of fun.
That's their way out.
That's their way out. And
yeah,
the truth is, what it really comes down to, I really think, is that the industry itself is poised to bring in about $200 billion by 2022.
Wow.
It is right now the amount of viewers worldwide. We're looking at 430 million viewers. There are more people that watch video games being played online than there are actual gamers and actual players, which was very, very interesting. While we were doing research, we were realizing there's a lot of creative career pathways that exist. So from social media management to actual professional gaming to, let's say, broadcasting to journalism to graphic design. I mean, you name it, it exists. And what we're trying to do is really diversify that industry, because right now when you look at a snapshot of the industry, it's mostly men, it's mostly white, and right now the black, brown, Latino, girl, queer gamer, like that narrative is not being told. So we want to create a safe space for not just young people and community members to come and play and explore the industry, but also to really start seeing themselves in there and through extension, like diversify the industry by offering training and then eventually, hopefully, jobs.
I was going to say, it's that four-letter word, jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, that is what it's about. So you say, well, wait a minute, I love this. I love to play, I'm a gamer. I love to play games. I try to invent them. I've learned a little bit of technology in school or whatever it is. And now you say, but this is for real. It's not for somebody else. It's for you, and you can have that opportunity.
Absolutely. Like, for example, this next spring, starting in February, when BXStart actually officially launches, one of our programs is going to be Gaming and Journalism as an after-school program for young people, where they get to meet industry professionals, from reporters to pro gamers to actually VP of marketing executives of high, like really big companies. But we're also going to be doing media broadcasting. What does it look like to have young people running the broadcasts for some of these gamers that are coming out of the Bronx? There was a story of a young man, 15 years old, won $3 million playing Fortnite. And, you hear these stories and you look at them and you rarely ever see young people like ours from our community kind of experiencing that. And we want to be able to get a hold of that.
I'm going to give you an example of somebody that I met at Lehman College, as a matter of fact, a Lehman student, and he created a game and he showed it to me on his phone, and he's got like 4 million people worldwide who are on it, and of course he's making considerable money off of that.
Absolutely.
That opportunity exists for him and could exist for
Absolutely, and the idea is that as more people start realizing, as parents specifically and more adults start realizing that gaming is something that is real and it's something our young people are doing, like there are positive things that we can do with this. So I'm sorry guys, so one of the things that I just wanted to share is that, so let's say this young man that created this game, right, a lot of times you have young people who create these things and have nowhere to go next, right?
So don't know how to do it, how to
we're
market.
Creating this hub to
So do you run,
that.
we're almost out of time, do you run classes or?
We will be running classes, workshops for gamers, game designers, entrepreneurs that really help and explore how they further along their career pathway in those particular areas.
Well, I just think it's great. I think it's forward-thinking. DreamYard has always been dreaming and always been dreaming forward. And Rudy, thank you so much for joining us, because what you guys are doing there, not only with the gaming thing, with everything you do, is just top-notch and really at the core of what the Bronx is about.
Thank you, Gary.
Folks, for more information on the DreamYard Project's programs and their upcoming events, visit their website at dreamyard.com or follow them at social media at dream_yard. Don't go anywhere right now, because we will be back with Open More right after this.
What's up, guys? It's your girl, The Essence, here, right on the set of the The Essence Show. Please tune in each and every Wednesday at 9 p.m., Files 34, Optimum 68, and live streaming, BronxNet.tv. Or you better get in line.
Here we are, Jerome Avenue, the heart of the Bronx. This is where I grew up. Business is booming, people are moving, everyone works hard. Nothing was handed to anyone here. I've been in here to take my passport pictures. I bought flowers here for my mother. Oh, this is where I get my smoothies, by the way. Continuation. This is what we call the O, 170th Street. It feels so Bronx. Hey, my man Fonzie. We've walked up and down the corridor, nothing but love. And I'm glad to say that Jerome is home.
Hey, back with you on Open. We are having a great time on Wednesday Open. Gary Axelbank sitting in for Darren Jaime this morning. The Community of Hope is an outreach group from the Manhattan Church of Christ. They're helping people who are homeless, housing insecure, or struggling to have their needs met. Sounds familiar. We all know about it. Joining us now to tell us more and give us details is the Community of Hope Minister of Homeless Outreach at Manhattan Church of Christ. It's Carl Garrison. Mr. Garrison, nice to have you with us.
Likewise.
You sat down here, we're going to tell the truth, and you said it's all about community. So I want you to explain to me what you mean by that, and certainly people in the Bronx will understand that instinctively.
I think many times these programs and churches and groups, we work on the social justice aspect of it, housing, people who are food insecure. But what you miss sometimes is the community aspect, the day-to-day living of people in the community, the guests. So we try to, I'm there for 30 years, try to fill the gap. As we're working on housing issues, vouchers and referrals, we also provide a place people can come, get some great grub, holiday meals, gift bags. I'm an artist and my background's in the arts. People perform, people see movies, and we do showers, clothing, but it's the community. Every single week. And I think that's the missing piece, because if you have that's community piece, you work on the other piece simultaneously at the same time.
Sometimes the most ordinary things are the most profound and the things that work the best. You know, we talk about, we did our segment with the Department of Health and talked about drug abuse. A lot of times it's just creating that community and that support group, and then all of a sudden your gang problem is less, your opioid problem is less. It's funny how that works.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, we have guests. I mean, I'm there 30 years, so I've seen guests come and go, and when you provide community, there's a place people can come back to all the time.
Yeah.
And many times when people get housing, they still come back to volunteer and to sort of lead some of our programs. So it's really, you can tell I'm very excited talking about it, but I've seen brothers and sisters come, and they can't wait to be a part of this ministry, to be part of the work, to help somebody else.
That's what I was saying. It's you were talking. You use community. I'll use the word family.
Okay,
it's all
the same
part.
thing.
It's all part of the same thing. Let's talk about people who are homeless. I mean, you know, there's an obvious stereotype that's out there about them.
Horrible.
But I think I saw a stat just the other day. It was something like 30% of the homeless population in New York, which has exploded, are working families. You know, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that changes the whole dynamic of who they are.
Well, you know, some of these terms, I like to use the terms marginalized community sometimes, because homelessness is such a stigma in that. But I get it. There are people who are street homeless. Okay. Okay. You have that component. You have people who are kind of in and out, and then you have people who have a place but they have no food. So it's a hybrid. It's fluid. And I think one of the, when you address this issue, it has to be a fluid discussion, because it's not one thing, one size fits all. You know?
So as a minister at the Manhattan Church of Christ, how do you look at that? And you know, I'm sure in your heart you'd like to save them all in every way possible.
That was the goal when I began 30 years ago. I found out you couldn't do that.
So how do you apportion it out so you can address those individual issues?
I mean, it sounds it's overly simple.
In 25 words or less.
You know, you deal with people one person at a time. We have a spiritual ethic. We have a Christology about. We believe that when Jesus walked around, he created community. You deal with people. You know, you find out what the needs are, and you try to meet them. Simple. I mean, I don't say if you want a meal, see a movie, do poetry, you got to be part of this church dogma. I don't say that, man. That's crazy. So what I just say, hey, what do you need? How can we help? If we can't help, I'll find someone who can. Simple. It's dignity. Just give them what people want.
The holiday season, you know, look, we all should be doing all this stuff year round, but you do special things during the holiday season. Talk about, you know, how you view the holidays and what this means to the population you serve.
Well, I mean, I love the holidays. My kids love it. My wife loves it.
Oh, who doesn't? For goodness sakes.
And it's very special.
Maybe Scrooge doesn't like it, but the rest of us.
He came around though eventually, right?
Yeah, I do recall. Yes.
We do holiday meals. We partnership with schools, with the International School, the LRI School downtown, also Oz Moving and Storage, and they give us some gift bags. We gift bags, clothing, toiletry items. You know, we have this idea of abundance. I believe that the holiday times in New York City around this issue should be about abundance. So I order more food, double food, triple food.
Wow.
Get all, and I think 'cause if that's what I had when I grew up. I love that. You know what I'm saying? So that's just, I want to give that back, and this is make it normative for guests.
You know, I guess I'm going to give you the balance is that on one hand, it makes you feel wonderful to do these things and all that kind of stuff, but it breaks your heart too when you see people,
Well,
I'd say regular people, all people are regular
it
people.
does.
People come in and the needs are so simple. A hot meal,
you know,
somebody to talk to, somebody to smile with the kids, give the children a gift. I mean, that stuff is fundamental.
Well, I always tell our guests, we get a lot of volunteers around the holiday season. We got 80, 90 volunteers. You know, when you're...
That's a lot.
It's a lot, but I try to manage it. We do... if your heart is being broken continually, allow that to fuel your work. So my whole thing is, I hope your heart's broken all the time. You know, right?
Gee, thanks. I sincerely appreciate that. I'm working on that.
That fuels it. I mean, it's sort of, that's it goes somewhere. It's not, you know, you don't have to cry and all this guilt and just sort of just do. Simple.
And what about funding for the programs? I mean, is it a continual issue? Do you get donations?
Yeah,
How do you do it?
we have partners. We do a lot of funding ourselves. With other congregations who help buy food as well, so we kind of make it an ecumenical experience. And that sort of, to me, is one of the goals as well, is to make it not just a church doing something, but a community experience.
I knew you were going to go back to that word.
It's my word, man. It's my word.
You know, and over 30 years, how do you measure the success? Of course, the job will never be done. We know that. But how do you measure the success? Do you see the impact?
That's a good question.
I'm hoping. Well, it's my job.
Well, no, I think you know. Well, here's the thing. Early on, you know, I would say, okay, how many people do we bring from street to housing? But I'm finding that it's a fluid discussion. So my own heart and my own level of burnout. Am I still happy and joyful after 30 years? That's how I measure.
Clearly he is. Yeah. Carl Garrison, the Community of Hope Minister of Hope, Homeless Outreach at the Manhattan Church of Christ. Thank you so much.
Amen.
And thank you and happy holidays.
You too.
To you and all the people at the church and in the community.
And then go to the website. We have programs this Saturday.
I'm going to get it to you. For more information on Community of Hope, you can visit their website at manhattanchurch.org, manhattanchurch.org, right now. Or their social media at Manhattan_COFC. Okay, we got it?
You're good, man.
All right, stay tuned. We'll have more open after this. We have many wonderful photography groups in the Bronx. The Bronx Senior Photo League is teaching photography to Bronx seniors between the ages of 65 and 90, and I'm going to guess that they'll go above 90 if there is somebody above 90. They're not going to cut the, What, you're 90 years old? The ongoing exhibition presents the Bronx through the eyes of these older adults as they explore family, friendship, and community. Joining us to tell more is Rhynna M. Santos, my good buddy, and the Bronx Senior Photo League program coordinator at the Bronx Documentary Center. Nice to have you with us, Rhynna.
Such a pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
Always good. So let's talk about even conceptually now. The Bronx Documentary Center has wonderful photography programs. Talk about the whole notion of a photography program for seniors.
So we wanted to expand from our after-school program called the Bronx Junior Photo League for middle school and high school students.
Which has been highly successful, by the way.
Absolutely. Great. Really being able to teach and foster a lot of wonderful talent, but we wanted to do the same thing with the population that is so completely ignored, which is older adults, 65 through 90 and
90
up.
and above, 65
right.
and up.
That's right.
Are these people who have been photographers in the past, or are they people who say, gee whiz, now I'm 68 years old and I'd like to try it out?
Well, most of our seniors have never held a camera before.
Wow.
And some, taking a few photos with their cell phones here and there, but most of our students have never had any experience. You don't have to have any experience to be in this program. But what's really fantastic about the program is that we're really challenging not just the seniors, but our community in general on how do we look at our older adult population differently.
And I'm waiting for you to finish that sentence. So how do we look at our older adult population differently, and what does this Senior Photo League teach you and them about either themselves or a new way to look at who they are?
Well, first of all, besides teaching them how to use a point-and-shoot camera, really what we're trying to foster is self-empowerment and self-esteem. When, we have a very accepted prejudice when it comes to older adults, we would never talk about people from their teens up to their 40s in the same group, but we do that with older adults from 60 to 90 and up, and lump everyone into one category when in actuality, each, student, each decade, people are dealing with very unique issues. And the one thing that I have seen through teaching this class is how much incredible work and creativity that my older adult students have, as opposed to this level of accepted prejudice that we have about how after people being able to accomplish so much in their lives, then they hit a certain age and then we think that they can't do anything.
I know that the Junior Photo League that the Documentary Center has run has some very obvious goals. So you give young people a chance to express themselves, to see the world, to go look at, for example, the Bronx River and get a new look at this thing, that body of water from which our borough is named. What are the kinds of things that seniors are getting out of that, and does it have a similar effect on them as people and certainly as they get older?
Well, as our first, mission is to teach documentary photography, but since we're dealing with a population, most of our older adults live, in the poorest congressional district in all of the United States, dealing with very unique issues like poverty, physical handicap, and otherwise, we really want for them to document their own lives, for them to have a point of view and to add their point of view into the rich tapestry of the history of the Bronx.
What are they interested in taking pictures of? I'm guessing the first thing would be their families or their grandkids or whatever, but tell me a little bit about the output of what they show you.
Well, the class is called Photographing My Life. So they get to document their everyday life. And in reality, what do older adults, what do they do with their day? And you would be surprised. Many older adults are actually continue to work. They're critical caregivers within their family, they're knowledge holders, but they really have, a lot of my students internalize this whole prejudice against older adults, that they can't really do anything. So within this class, we first try to deal with their self-esteem and also the self-esteem of where they're from, which is the Bronx.
The technology in photography has changed so much. I mean, I'm guessing many of them say, what? I don't have to pay for the film or send it out and be developed. How are they adapting to this notion of, you talked about point and shoot. Point and shoot, you can look at the picture right away. I mean, for people who grew up with the older technology, that's an incredible revelation.
Well, we really try to introduce all types of photography, even film photography for them. We also try to use archival photos, like photos that they bring from home that they love. But more importantly, is just really giving them the encouragement to try something new. And also, most importantly, the respect. We really need to respect our older adult population and what they've been able to accomplish through this
Do
class.
a lot of listening and give them a chance to express themselves. And have you learned anything through it?
Oh my God. I am in love with this population. I really love teaching, but what I've learned the most is one, we really, all of us as individuals, have to challenge our own ageism, because our own institutions also reflect the fact that we believe that older adults can't really accomplish much, which is absolutely not true.
Rhynna, I have to ask you about your father, the late Ray Santos.
Yes.
For people who may or may not know, Rhynna is the daughter of one of the Bronx's greatest musicians, and Ray Santos, and he passed recently. And you were his caregiver for a period of time, as I understand.
Yes.
Just talk to me about now looking back at his life, or what you carry with you from the great Ray Santos.
Well, we miss Papi every single minute of every day. Thank you so much for bringing it up. He has been such an incredible person within Latin music, but us, you know, as a family, he's my role model in everything. And I would use him in my class all the time when my seniors.
You still do?
I do, when they feel like I can't really do this. And I'm like, my dad at 90 was using his cell phone and taking photos. But we really want to be able to continue his legacy and to remember, you know, everything that he has done for Latin music.
I hope that people watching the TV can see how Rhynna's face changed when I asked about Papi and I asked about the late Ray Santos. And the memorials that I saw, the tributes I saw, were just glowing. And you running this senior program are certainly carrying on the tradition of creativity and art and sharing it with Bronx people that he started. And so thank you so much for doing all of that.
No, thank you very much. And we want to invite everyone for our panel discussion.
Oh, when is that?
This Saturday, December 14th, from 3 to 5 o'clock. We're going to have students, and they're going to talk about their experience being in class and documenting the Bronx.
Listen, you're just doing great work. Rhynna M. Santos, thank you so much for joining us on Open. The Bronx Senior Photo League is holding a panel discussion that she mentioned. It's taking place Saturday the 14th from 3 to 5 p.m. You can see a sample of it on your screen now. Exhibition is open until February 2nd, 2020. That sounds crazy. At the Bronx Documentary Center. If you don't know where the Bronx Documentary Center is, you gotta get over there. 614 Cortlandt Avenue, one of the absolute great places in the Bronx. You can visit their website at bronxdoc.org. You can visit them on Instagram at Bronx Senior Photo League. And thank you again, and thank you all the guests. We've come to the end of the show today. My goodness. We'd like to thank all our guests for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channel 67, Verizon Fios 33, or watch anytime on the web. Of course, everything is automatic at bronxnet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with my buddy Rhynna Valentine on Friday. And that's it. That wraps it up for us here on Open. I'm Gary Axelbank. Darren should be back with you next week. And make sure to keep this channel on BronxNet wide open. We'll see you soon. Happy holidays.